This is ACC Nation with Will Ojanen and Jim Quist, featuring ACC sports news and interviews. Available on streaming radio, podcast, and YouTube. Welcome to ACC Nation. That's Will Ojanen. I'm Jim Quist. We're going to be talking about what else? Baseball. It's NCAA College World Series time. Omaha's the place. We've got two ACC teams that are headed that way. We'll get into that in just a moment with some important information that's just been released that Will has. He's going to share with you. First, want to plug something. Coming up on the 19th of June, we've got the ACC Nation football preview. And our first preview is going to be Virginia. Jackie Franciulli is going to be joining us and talking to us about Virginia football and the prospects of how the Wahoos look this year and what they have to do to start getting back into some kind of a groove to compete in the ACC. Then followed by that, we're going to have somebody who's doing something new for Syracuse. He's the new pre and post game guy and sideline reporter, Tim Leonard with Syracuse football. He's going to be joining us on the 21st. We'll be talking about the Orange and how 'Cuse looks this year and what's different and what's exciting. So keep this in mind, the 19th and the 21st. It starts out with Virginia, then Syracuse. We've got a lot more that are going to be lined up right after that. We're going to be rolling all the way up until kickoff, literally this season, with all of our football previews. Also coming up as a special treat, Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews is going to be joining us. Been talking with Brett back and forth here the last couple of days. He is in the process of working up his ACC preview. So we're going to get him right about the same time he finishes up with that and is putting that out to the general public. So we're going to be talking with him sometime toward the end of June or beginning of July. I'm not sure, it depends on his schedule. Let's put it that way. It's really simple. But anyway, we're looking forward to Brett. Jackie, Tim, and Brett coming up. That's just the beginning. We've got all kinds of stuff lined up here. We've got all of the teams basically, and including Notre Dame. We've got them on our list. Hopefully we'll be able to get some of our special guests from the past to come back and join us, talk a little bit about the Irish as well. Hey, they're not a part of the ACC football-wise, but they play numerous games. So it's good to hear what they're doing, what their thoughts are, how they're ranked. That gives us, on the ACC side, a little perspective on what's happening. But first, let's get into what's going on with baseball. It's College World Series time. We've got some information that's just been updated. Will?
Yep. So the times for the first games of the College World Series are literally just were announced as we were starting to record. And for those of you who aren't familiar, there are two ACC teams in the College World Series this year, Virginia and Wake Forest. Virginia will open up Friday night. A game will be a 7:00 Eastern first pitch on ESPN against the Florida Gators. And speaking of Jackie Franciulli, this is the Jackie Franciulli Bowl. She obviously covers Virginia for Wahoo's 24/7, and she actually before that covered the Florida Gators for a little while. So this is the Jackie Franciulli Bowl. Wake Forest Open will be the early game Saturday, June 17th. That'll be a 2:00 first pitch on ESPN. We are waiting as of recording the opponent. Will it be Stanford and its 156 pitch pitcher, or the Texas Longhorns? We will find that out sometime after this we stop recording.
Absolutely insane. 156 pitches, man. Can you imagine? I mean,
cut to a shot of Dr. James Andrews like, oh, fresh meat.
My arm hurts just thinking about,
yeah, right.
Maybe 10 pitches would do me in at this. It's funny. I'm going to tell this story. I had a basketball player, young lady that I helped coach, and I helped coach her through AAU and into high school, and remain friends even to this day. So we were at a I think a volunteer fire department festival of some sort, and she got me into competing against her. And it was, among other things, I had to do some kind of um, low riding cart where I had to kind of sprint along. I mean, I could just barely do that, but she got me up to pitch. My fastball, Will, was 57 miles an hour, and my arm was killing me. I said, I give up. This has been
57 on the fastball.
yeah, this has been years ago, and I can't even imagine what it would be like now. So 156 pitches. Holy smokes, man! Pain. I feel it.
Ugh.
I
I
feel it.
hate to know what that kid's feeling today.
Got the ice. Got the ice. Got the ice. A lot of ice packed.
And then
Oh
he's probably going to have to throw like another 120 if they make it to the College World Series because, coaches don't care.
no, no. Hey, the ACC started out with 8 teams, and let's run down. How everybody started out in the regionals. We started out with the number 1 seed, Wake Forest, and in the Winston-Salem bracket, they came out of that one, obviously. And then there was Miami in the Coral Gables regional. They were eliminated there, and Texas advanced out of that one. You were talking about Stanford. Stanford is playing, of course, Texas. Those 2 teams are tied at 1 apiece. That game, as you alluded, is going to be played while we're speaking, essentially. We'll see how that all plays out. Also, the other teams coming out of the ACC, Clemson at the Clemson Regional, they were eliminated. Tennessee advanced out of that one, and Tennessee is facing Southern Miss. They're tied at 1 apiece. We're going to find out where that ends up tonight as well. Now, one thing I want to point out, Will, and get your thoughts on this. All these teams that are, whoever comes out of this, whether it's Southern Miss, Tennessee, Stanford, or Texas, they're not going to have very many days of rest. So
no, that's kind of the thing that's kind of advantage of the way. It's kind of weird how it's all staggered. You got some that started Friday, some started Saturday, and now you got all but 2 teams are settled. And yeah, maybe depending on how things set up, at least with the rotation, you could start at a disadvantage with if you go with your ace tonight or whatever. If you have to use one of your premium starters or whatever for tonight, I mean they'll have 3 days rest if they go Friday or but if they're Saturday, then they should be good. But at the same time, the arms of all these other teams are going to be fully rested by that time. That they will be at an advantage.
So I did watch Southern Miss and Tennessee the other day, and I tell you what, that has been a competitive series. It's been fun to watch. I didn't get to see any of the Stanford and Texas matchup at all. I've seen some highlights. Also, interesting game. I think that some people were very surprised by the fact that Stanford wasn't doing better. I'm not so sure that's a great way to look at it. The Terre Haute regional, UNC was in that, and they were eliminated. Indiana State advanced out of that, and then went on to lose to TCU. Also, the other ACC teams, Virginia and the Charlottesville regional, and then they went on to the super regional where they played Duke. Duke advanced out of the Conway regional and had some pretty good competition and did very well. As a matter of fact, Duke and Virginia playing some really great ball there. Duke, I think, played smart ball in that first game, but after that, Virginia just, I don't know, somebody threw gas on the fire there, and it was like they just took off. So
they were like the Monstars against Duke, and it was just really weird. So yeah, I even paid a super close attention to Duke baseball this year, but it was kind of weird to me that the way and then I kind of looked up their kind of season. They generally don't let their starters get past the 4th, 5th inning. It's more like most of the time they'll let them get a turn, maybe 2, through the batting order. They're just heavily reliant on the bullpen, and I just kind of wonder if that eventually, did them in this super regional. Because once they really got past the starters, it was, especially in the third game, they were just getting lit up, and I know Virginia's got a really good offense, but geez, I mean, just kind of pulling up the games from the last couple of days. You look at the bullpens for Duke, for example, their starter went 3 1/3 innings, but then 4 runs in a third of an inning, 2 runs and one in a third inning, another one, 4 runs in 2 innings, and this was on the second game. And then on Sunday, there wasn't much better. Their second reliever, their second pitcher gave up 3 runs in 3 1/3 innings. Yeah, they had a couple ones that gave up 2 3 innings or 2 runs, and it just felt like they just wore themselves out, and it just really hindered them in the end. This is a team that has been really reliant on offense. This is a team that can slug like few can, and it just didn't work for them, especially come the weekend.
Got to have that strong bullpen, man.
Mhm.
You just do. And if your starters are only going 3 innings,
Mhm.
uh, okay. NC State is the last team in this bunch. They were in the Columbia regional. South Carolina advanced to play Florida in the super regional, and Florida kind of just wiped the floor with South Carolina without any issue. Now, where we're going next, we'll go back here for just a second, because we kind of reviewed Virginia and Duke. And Virginia really did pull out some big guns there, scoring wise, and shows you just how dangerous a team they are. If you can't get a grip on them pitching wise, they are going to take it to you. One of the things that the announcers kept pointing out, which I'd kind of forgotten in some regards, just because you sort of take things for granted, I think you forget about this stuff. These guys have been playing together. It's sort of like trial by fire since first year. And notice I didn't say freshman. So, hey, that's what I get when I have a UVA grad in the household. I'm reminded constantly, don't you ever say freshman. And then taking a look at Wake Forest, and they just absolutely hammered Alabama in that second game. That first game was a lot like that first game between Virginia and Duke. It was a close game. It was 5-4. Wake Forest came in on top with that. But that second game, holy smokes, man, setting a record with the number of runs scored. That team is daunting. Pitching, hitting, they just have it together. And I see why they're a number one seed and, have been ranked number one. It's going to be interesting to see Wake Forest and LSU going head to head with each other. These are two solid teams, and it is going to be crazy. This is something I do not want to miss. I will be plunked down in front of the TV for both of the games that are critical. The ACC teams that are playing, those are the critical ones for me. The rest of it, I'll catch a little bit. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what an amazing game by Wake in the second game. 22 runs. Holy smokes. It was I was following along. Yeah, they really got out the first 3 innings. They were up 10-3 at the end of the fourth inning, and then just piled on, scored another 10 runs in the final 2 innings. Just made it look just unbelievably bad. I mean, yeah, you look at a guy like Brock Wilken, 4 for 5, 5 runs scored. Danny Corona, 6 RBIs. Just wow. They were just destroying Alabama's pitching staff. And of course, you get the people. I saw this on Twitter through the Message Board Geniuses account about how fans wanted Wake Forest, to be investigated for what they did because
What?
Alabama can never be beat fair and square. Somebody always has to. There's always an excuse when it comes to Alabama, especially against an ACC school. Remember the national championship game against Clemson a few years ago?
Oh yeah.
Excuses, excuses, excuses.
You might as well add about 4,000 or 5,000 more on there too, because
excuses, excuses, excuses.
yeah,
We're going to be
you're
like an
right.
8-hour podcast.
It's never ending. It's like,
Uh-huh.
okay, you lost. Okay, you got
How these ACC schools they supposed to beat us? What's wrong here?
yeah. Oh boy. Speaking of, I'm not going to speak of him.
It's been a while since I broke out that.
Yeah. You can just leave that one by the sideline here for a little while.
I gotta save it for the season, but
yes, definitely for the season. Please. So, all right. So bracket 1 is not filled in yet. We know that Wake Forest and LSU are there. Bracket 2. I think this is an interesting mix. Here we have two unseeded teams, TCU and Oral Roberts. And then we have two teams which are used to being in the playoffs, and they're seasoned. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Florida, number 2 seed, Virginia, number 7 seed. And Florida has been known for years and years and years for having a bullpen that is just going to eat you alive. And Virginia has had the reputation of sticking it to you with the stick. And so this is going to be a big challenge, and we'll see where this all works out. Virginia pitching has been pretty good too, to say the least.
Oh yeah, starting pitching's been phenomenal.
I don't think the Gators batting has been as good as it could or should be. So that might be, if you want to weigh some things one way or the other. Here's something interesting. And I was looking this up today. Well, let me see if I can. I've got notes here in front of. I've got notes. I always have notes. I want to find this one.
I'll make a note of that.
You'll make it. Holy smokes! All right. Where is this? I wrote this down and I can't find it. Okay. Well, I'll just go off my memory. I do remember this part of it. I was looking at the odds in regard to 4 teams that were right up there at the top. And that, the betting odds, here's who was number 1, Wake Forest. Clearly, the odds are just strongly there that Wake Forest is a team to beat. But here's the thing I found fascinating. They took several betting platforms, and across the line at number 2, there was no consistency. One was LSU, one was Florida, one was Virginia. So in the overall, if I really dissected it, really broke it down, LSU was probably given the most opportunity to be number 2 here. Florida was very close behind, and just a little bit behind them was Virginia. So those 3 teams, people who are putting down the money are saying, hey, we recognize the fact that Wake Forest is a killer. We can see that. There's no doubt in our mind that's what's going on. But these other 3 teams, they just can't put their finger on which one of those 3 is the strongest and most likely to come out and challenge and make it to a championship. I just thought that was just, I haven't seen those kind of numbers in a long time, Will. that you've got four teams sitting like that closely. It's pretty amazing.
Definitely is, and it really shows that there's a lot of parity. I mean, obviously, yeah, Wake is the team to be. We've talked about that for a while, just the way they can just explode at any given moment. And when you have a starter like Rhett Lauder, right there, who can easily shut down any lineup, in front of them, you're going to be better. But there is, like you said, no consensus number two. You look at what the other team, Florida, did a pretty bang up job, sweeping their two games against South Carolina. We saw what Virginia did. They've been able to, they got by with some great starting pitching and obviously just beating the crap out of the ball the last in games 2 and 3. But again, they pitched the ball really well. Admittedly, their bullpen has been a bit shaky at times in the tournament here, and even going back into the season a little bit, the bullpen's been shaky at times. But you say the other team, LSU, has been really, really good. There's a reason there. Some people think they're the favorites. They pitched the ball really well. They're really good pitchers. And then you got the underdogs. We're excited to see what a team like Oral Roberts can do. This is I forget exactly when the last time they were in it, but it's been a while, and they're an underdog here, and it's really cool to see.
Quite a bit, as a matter of fact. Now, let's look at these two games that are going to be decided tonight. I'm going to throw these out at you and see what your thoughts are on who's going to come through this. Southern Miss and Tennessee. Who do you think is going to take this series?
I think I'm going to take Tennessee, as much as I would love to see Southern Miss win this one. I don't have a great reason why. I just feel like with the Tennessee, obviously they did a great job in the Clemson Regional getting through out of there. Lost first game to Southern Miss in the Super Regional, and then came back and won game 2. And it feels like this is a kind of a situation where momentum might be on their side.
Yeah, Tennessee, if I'm looking back at the regionals, the Clemson and the Auburn regionals and who played who, I would say overall that Tennessee had the slightly harder route to make it that far. But at the same time, Southern Miss, it's like you said, you kind of want to say, hey, Southern Miss, why not?
So cool story. Would be a cool story if they got there. Knocking out an SEC team. No complaints from me.
I'm going to go with Southern Miss. I just felt like they were a team of destiny when I watched them play the other day. I don't know why. They just have spunk. It's
not fun for us to just agree all the time.
No. But I'm going to be the one who goes out on the limb and saws it behind me. So it's this other game. This is I'm not really sure what to think of this, to be honest with you. Stanford was a number 8 seed going up against unseeded Texas. Texas has been right in there. So now Stanford has to come back and get a win tonight. And it's important that they do this if they want to continue moving forward. I don't have a good feel for this game, this matchup, one way or the other.
Yeah, this is a very even matchup. We've seen both of these teams, get here, pretty, obviously Stanford won their home regional. Texas did the upset Miami out of the Coral Gables regional. Obviously, Texas took the first game behind a pretty strong, a solid pitching performance. The bats really helped them in that game. But then obviously Stanford even it up, as we talked about at the beginning of the show. Quinn Matthews, the pitcher's name, who threw 156 pitches in a complete game on Sunday night, struck out 16 batters. There's the whole grit aspect, but there's also the whole, your arm is probably going to fall off now.
Cal Ripken.
I mean, he threw a bunch of pitches earlier in the week too. I forget exactly how, I think back in the regional, he threw a bunch of pitches too. So this is Yeah, this is a very questionable tactic, and especially with somebody who had some draft stock. I heard that the guy who was drafted last season, but elected to come back to school to potentially, improve on that stock. But if you're going to do something like this, that could potentially be a red flag if
Yeah.
that's what you're going to do. But um, I I kind of want Stanford to win for that reason, to see how he's managed. But at the same time, there's part of me would want Texas to win, so we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, I never want to. I never want Texas to win anything. So Stanford, it is for me. Um, so
I don't blame you.
you know, I make no bones about my my likes and dislikes.
That's fine.
Uh, I'd like to see Stanford win this, mainly because I think it's good to have a West Coast team in
Mhm.
here in this mix. And we got plenty of people from, the Southeast Conference and, Southern teams in here, and having somebody from the Pac is good for business. Now, how long they're still in that conference, or if that conference is still around in a couple of years, who knows? Who cares? It's right now. It's the moment we're living in, Will.
Live in that moment, baby.
That's right. Okay, so those two teams, we'll see, how that all plays out. Um, I I can't help but think that if we get into bracket one, um, I and I'll be blunt about it, folks. I I definitely have my likes and dislikes about conferences. I want Wake Forest to blow through bracket one.
Yeah,
I
same.
really do.
I mean, this is their first College World Series since when they won it some like 60 years ago or something like that,
Yeah.
if I saw correctly. And they're going to come right out of the gate with Rhett Lauder too against LSU. He's going to start that game and advantage Wake Forest right there.
I'm looking forward to it. I really hope this works out. I really do. I got my fingers and toes and everything else I can crossed for you, Luke. Um, now for bracket two, obviously I'd like to get another ACC team in there. I'd like to see Virginia.
Mhm.
I don't know that they're going to run through this. Virginia
Yeah.
and Florida, boy, that's a tough match. And I'm not saying Wake Forest and LSU isn't going to be a tough match. It will be. We're not talking any more 22 run games here, or 14 or whatever that we had with Virginia. You're not going to have that now. We're going to have games that are going to be all the way down to the last inning and who guts it out. And that's who's going to win those brackets. Um, and it could be a surprise, as you point out, Oral Roberts, TCU, you never know. You throw in, let's say, Stanford, Texas, and Tennessee or Southern Miss into that other bracket. You never know. Sometimes teams are teams of destiny, so we'll see what happens. But I had my choice. I'm taking Wake Forest and Virginia, going for the national championship, because then I don't really care. I know you do, but I don't really care at that point who wins. I just know that it's all coming home to daddy.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have any issue with that. Of course, yeah, I would love to see Virginia win, but if Wake won, cool. I would tip my cap to them. They've been the best team for a while now and would certainly be a deserving champion.
Indeed. Wow. Some good baseball coming up, man. I'm really looking forward to it. That all starts, if I'm not mistaken, Friday. Is that right?
Friday, yep. Friday afternoon is the first game at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then Florida Virginia is the nightcap at 7.
So I will tell you that there were some outlets that had Thursday as a start, and that was earlier stuff. So it just wasn't updated. That's all. So if you read something and you go, "Oh, this says it starts Thursday," don't worry about it. It starts Friday. Okay. And hopefully everybody, especially dudes pitched 156 pitches, gets his arm rested up, and we have some good competition going on here. Hey, a quick note before we head out the door here, Will. Congratulations, Virginia Tech sophomore Julia Fixon took gold in the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championship in pole vault with a vault of 14.7 1/4. And that was that's an interesting read. I was reading on NCAA about what that came down to. That it really it really came down to she and another person, and it was like multiple vaults in order to get to that point. And so congratulations. That is the only ACC competitor that came away with gold. I will tell you that there were quite a few people that came in with silver and bronze throughout the men's and women's competition. So a good showing for the Atlantic Coast Conference in the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championship. So congratulations to all of them as well. So one quick note, a couple of quick notes actually. The ACC Nation Radio Sports Update, which has information from across not only the conference but college sports, that will be on streaming on a regular basis moving forward. So it will only be on the streaming radio outlet. So there's all kinds of goodies. I'm looking here at one of the stories that we have. Talks about the 5 college football teams that have the best running back rooms for 2023. Are there any ACC teams in there? Well, you can find out by listening. Just simply go to our website at accnation.net and click on the radio link, and it'll take you right there. Or you can go to the links page up at the top. It'll take you to a selection of different platforms that carry ACC Nation Radio, and you can select which one of those that you want to follow us on. We encourage you to subscribe to that. Also to subscribe and like us on YouTube and our podcast. Make sure that you subscribe, okay? Love to have you on there. Hey, until next time, cheers.
Skål.